It's also, oops, it's also going to limit a lot of the partnerships that schools or even enrichment, like there's a lot of partnerships that aren't going to happen as well, correct?
Well, none of the partnerships can happen with this one section. So it doesn't even
Exactly.
matter what the audit says and what the changes to the bidding for the contracts. None of that matters because right here it makes our partnership illegal. And it tells us that we can't let our parents direct their education funds like we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wendy,
Yeah.
I have a question that I'm really confused about. I got an email from a number of charter schools that just follow the directions, get your EIN number, and um, redo your W-9 form, and everything should be fine. So
That's a totally separate issue that the charter schools are going through right now from this bill. This bill has not become law. This is not in taking place yet. It still has to go through the Appropriations Committee on the Senate side and then the Senate floor. And because it's been amended on the Senate side, it then also has to go back over to the Assembly floor and be voted on again. But what you're dealing with the EIN is actually a problem where the EDD department has come into charter schools and audited them and then determined that their vendors, if they are using a social security number, are considered employees and not contractors. And so then the school is on the hook for paying employee taxes and back wages for your employment with the school. So that's why the schools all need to have you have your own entity and an EIN number.
I see.
So
But
Wendy, Georgiana, just for the sake of time, we're going to leave all questions to the very end and we'll come back to you. If you want to put any of your questions in the chat, you can drop them in there. And Karen, she's recording the questions. We'll be able to answer those at the end.
And I'll put my phone number in the chat so you can call me about that because it's a different situation.
Perfect.
And I
Wendy,
do run a charter school. Yeah.
just to kind of end this part of the call, what would you say if you could just describe the three biggest impacts of this bill on vendors in a short, just to wrap up this portion, then we're going to talk about where the bill is at in the legislative process.
Okay, so it means that families would no longer be able to work with their assigned teacher to select enrichment activities unless those activities are taught by a credentialed employee of the school. And it bans teacher guided instructional funds altogether. And it bans the use of outside vendors for instruction in public charter schools because all instruction has to be provided by a credentialed teacher that works for the school.
Perfect. Thank you. That was perfect and succinct. Okay, Karen, why don't we go ahead and talk about where we're at in the legislative process with this bill?
Yes, and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. It's great to see all of your faces. So let's talk about AB 84 and where we're at. AB 84, of course, came from the Assembly. It's an AB bill. It passed the Assembly Education Committee. It passed the Assembly Appropriations Committee. It barely passed the Assembly floor with 43 votes. There was 25 no votes and 11 abstained votes. It is now in the opposite house. So as Wendy mentioned a little bit earlier, we are now in the Senate Appropriations Committee. AB 84 is scheduled to be heard on Monday, August 18th, and that's the first day that the legislators return from their summer recess. They're on summer break right now. And there is a lot of bills to be heard on that day. So I will add the Senate Daily File for you guys in the chat, starting on page 25. You'll see that there's a lot of bills that the committee will be hearing on that day. This committee is a little special and we need to know what they'll be asking in the hearing. So they won't really be discussing the policy of AB 84. Instead, they will only be evaluating its fiscal impact. So some of the questions that they'll be asking is, how much will it cost the state? How will it impact local school district budgets? Are there any new administrative burdens that the bill brings? So some things that we can focus on, of course, Wendy discussed these earlier, is the loss of vendor access and how it'll hurt thousands of small businesses and independent contractors. Of course, the increased oversight fees, the unfunded mandates, and it, like Wendy also said earlier, if and when it passes the Senate Appropriations Committee, it will go to the Senate for a full floor vote. It does need to go back to the Assembly for a concurrence vote since it was amended. So just as a reminder, even if your legislator voted yes before, they can still change their vote, they can still abstain, and they can still vote no in concurrence. So every conversation that you guys are having with your senators and your assembly members does make a difference. And I think, Allison, from here, Darlene will walk us through the specific call to action that we're asking for all of you to take on AB 84.
Before we move on to that really quickly, though, just I want to make sure, because I know that not everybody fully understands the legislative process. Just because I know that this bill has already passed through other committees, that doesn't mean that the bill has passed. So the same for this situation. Could you just clarify how that works a little bit?
Yes, so the bill, like Allison said, it has not been signed. It is not a law yet. It still has to pass through a few other steps. And the last step, if and when it passes the Appropriations Committee, which is the fiscal impact on the bill, if it passes the Senate floor and it passes the Assembly floor, it still needs to go to the governor, and the governor still needs to sign it. He can veto it, or he can pass it without his signature. And the timeline that we're looking at is after September. So we still have some time to have those meaningful conversations with our legislators so that they can vote no and abstain on AB 84.
Thank you. I just want to remind everybody one more time, there is a survey that we've put in the chat. The reason the survey is important is that it does allow us to see what district you guys are in. Just like Karen is talking about, all of our different legislators, they will be voting on this bill. We're able to see who is in those different legislators' districts. If you happen to be in one of the senators' districts that's on this appropriation committee, that's super helpful information for us. And with that, we will go
Can I
to
chime in with one more thing?
Yeah.
The governor has until October 12th to sign the bills, so just keep that in mind. And that's also something I find kind of annoying about this bill is that the ban on our model of school that makes it illegal for us to work with you guys is the only kind of section that they haven't assigned a start date to, which means that it will start January 1st, 2026, mid-school year.
Oh my gosh. I thought it was at least next fall.
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Take
Okay.
it away, Darlene.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Sure, and thank you, Allison. Thank you, Karen, too. I guess just by show of hands for the people with the screen, how many of you have ever submitted an opposition letter to the Sacramento before? Okay, so a few of you had, which is great. I'm about to put into the chat. So we have our call to action is a little bit confusing because we've incurred a bit of a problem. So Wendy had communicated with the Appropriations Committee, and the staffer, at least they were willing to be honest. They said that they're not going to consider all of the opposition letters that are submitted through the portal, and that it was also verified by another organization as well, talking to the committee just to make sure, is it really going to happen this way? They said, as a committee, it's to our purview what we put on the bill analysis, and we don't have to put all of the opposition listed. So as a workaround, I'm going to put into the chat right now, it's a veto.app link where you could submit an opposition letter to us. And what we want to do with that is make sure that the person doing the bill analysis gets a copy of your opposition letter, and so that they could see that there are actually vendors, small business owners in California that have a problem with this bill. So going with that too, when you click on the link, we also have another link. I'll also put that in the chat. Wendy was very great. She created a blog post that includes sample template letters for your opposition, sample talking points that you can include, so that if it is your first time writing an opposition letter, you could get some guidance of what should be included in an opposition letter. She also included the email addresses of some of the staffers so that you can make sure that you can send it to them yourself if you would like to. The third link that I'm going to include is the link for the appropriations portal itself. So if you are able to and you feel comfortable doing it, you can go ahead and put your opposition letter in Sacramento's legislative portal for the Senate Appropriations Committee. Again, the staffer had said that they may or may not put these into their bill analysis, but say the bill passes, just as an example, and somebody decides to sue based on AB 84. What the lawyer might do is go and request, I would like to see all the opposition that was put into the legislative portal. That might be a time that it becomes important. But for the sake of the Appropriations Committee, getting it to the staffer would be the number one goal. And that's why we have these different links. So hopefully it's not too confusing, but we are just trying to go with the punches that are given to us, and knowing and anticipating that the Appropriations Committee might not necessarily look at all of the letters in the portal. This is going to be our workaround. So with the list of opposition letters that we're going to be getting, hopefully we can phone tree this out so that you could share with this with other vendors that you know. Hopefully, if there's a charter that you work for and they feel comfortable, they could also disseminate this to the other vendors that they work with. We really want this to spread out as far across the state as possible so that we could get a long list of opposition. With that, we could create a document that is a declaration with, look at all these vendors throughout California that will be impacted by the bill. Wouldn't that show such a great impact on the economy that, you know, we want to press them so that they could see. If not from the bill analysis, it would be handing it to them when they're on the floor to vote, or handing it to the committee members when they're going through the bill. I guess, Karen, do you think this is something that's going to be going to the suspense file?
Oh, the elimination of charter fund.
I think it's a great candidate for the suspense file, just based on everything that the bill has. And it's really important for us to maybe discuss what the suspense file is. So if there's a lot that needs to go back and forth that the legislators need to hash out about the fiscal impact, they'll put it on the side for a day or two or until the next hearing. We really don't have a time frame of how long they'll put it on the side for until those specific issues are discussed and finalized. And it's also important to note that a bill can also die in the suspense file. So if they don't pull it out of the suspense file by the deadline, then the bill will die. But I do think AB 84 is a good candidate to be put in the suspense file.
Thank you for that, Karen. So based on that, that's actually a really good sign. So a lot of bills that are debatable or, you know, could become an issue for the state, this is like their way out. So instead of the members having to vote and oppose a bill, they usually talk to the chair of that committee and say, you know what, if we could let this bill die in the suspense file, if you can see that the bill is too expensive to actually carry out, that would be a win for us. So again, having a list of vendors opposing the bill would be a great way to present to the committee. Look, there are just too many businesses that are going to be impacted. Please let it die in the suspense file.
Can I share real fast, walk them through the blog post that explains kind of?
Yes, please, Wendy.
Let me see if I can figure this out.
Allie, are you?
I gave you permission.
I know, I'm going to try it right now. Okay.
Woohoo, good.
Okay. So this is my blog post, and I want to expand on giving them more information about the real cost of what AB 84 is going to cost the state. So I just kind of bulleted it out for you guys. You know, how is it going to impact businesses? What it's actually going to do to our special education system in California? Because we all know that most of the families aren't going to be putting their kids back into a brick and mortar district school, and they're going to file the private school affidavit. That means their children's special ed services are going to become the responsibility of their local district. And then what's it going to cost extra to the state budget? So then I went and created these quick links here because it's more complicated. We can't just send it through the portal if they're going to ignore it. So you click on one of these. If you're using Microsoft Outlook as your mail server, you click it and it opens an email with the email addresses for the people that you're going to send the email to. If you have any other mail client, you'll use this link. And then I literally created sample emails for you. You can just copy and paste this and add in your own information, your business name, and any other details that you'd want to add that you think of yourself, or you can totally write your own email. You don't have to use this at all. But there's 2 samples for vendors, and then there's one for parents of special ed students, parents of general ed students, and then staff or leadership of schools. So this link is in the chat, and that's what it looks like.
And just to clarify, vendors only need to write one letter, right? You pick one, you can pick a template, you can write one letter, and then you're going to submit it to these different places. So sending it via email, putting it in veto, but you only have to actually generate one. You're not having to do something different for everybody. So I don't want it to sound like you're having to do too much there.
No, and then you'll use that same letter that you've already copied and pasted into the email, or you could create it as like a document and put your signature on it. And then this is the really cool tool that, is it working? Let's see. That they've created, that then we're asking you, because we want to track how many letters, because they're not really going to tally them for the analysis. We want to track them ourselves. So we're asking you to then upload a copy for us through Veto. And right here, all you have to do is fill in these 3 boxes and attach your file. So both these links are in the chat. Okay.
I also want to let you guys know too that in the event link that you all received, I have been adding these links as well. So if you ever are not able to get access to this Zoom call, you can go back into that initial Zoom or event link that we sent out to you guys to RSVP to, and there will be all of the links for all of the calls to actions, for the blog posts, the letter templates, as well as any like social sharing photos or things like that that you can share on the internet. With that, why don't we open up the floor for some questions? So if you have a question, there should be like a little option on your Zoom call where you can raise your hand. If you don't know how to do that though, you're welcome to unmute and just ask or throw it in the chat. Karen, did you happen to have a list going already?
Not of questions, no.
So you guys know everything about this bill then, huh?
They're feeling
Everybody's
a little
done it.
overwhelmed. I think.
Oh yeah, or you guys need some time to process. This is a lot for sure. Well, I do want to encourage you guys that the legislative process, while it can be very overwhelming, this team of advocates, specifically Allie, Darlene, Karen, and Wendy here, they have been doing this for a very, very long time. You guys are in great hands. If you do have any questions, they are the perfect people to reach out to. They have been keeping up with every step of the bill. I also want to encourage you guys that there's still a lot of chances for us to be able to kill this bill. The next hearing for this is August 18th. Okay. This call has been recorded. Most of it, if I remember right, most of it has been recorded. Just in case, did we get at least the 3 most important impacts for vendors?
I believe so. We also had that reiterated throughout. We have the call to action. So we're good, I think.
Can I
I
also
think the
just
introductions, I'll put that in the notes.
Someone just, oh, go ahead.
Wendy, if you want to add, you guys need to follow legislation take action
Yeah, I
on
put it in the
Facebook.
chat. Mhm.
If you guys find, if you're not already following them, you can
Yes,
find the link in the chat. But Allison, there is a question in the chat. How likely will it be, will we be able to stop this?
I have faith in us. If we
Me
can
too.
get more people to keep opposing it with us, I feel like the momentum is growing. We're gaining opposition. I've been posting about this, I think, since April, and we have a lot more people engaging now than we did. And I will tell you that there's been a number of bills that we've been advocating against that have passed, but the last one that was very similar to this, we were able to kill it. So I have faith in us, you guys.
This team right here has been able to help kill a lot of bills. So I think that there's a lot of hope. I also wanted to ask, actually, Carrie had a question and then I have a question.
I apologize if this question was already answered. I was filling out the survey and I something about middle of the year. I thought that we had, if it did pass, it would be 2028 where it would come into effect. There was something mentioned about
So
a date, and I'm
different,
wondering if that's the same date that I misunderstood.
no, so different parts of the bill have been, they've been language that's been added for when that piece of the bill will take effect. But the part that bans our vendors and our charter school model that we're currently using will go into effect January of 2026 if the bill passes as it's currently written.
Wow, so we wouldn't have till 2028. We would be done.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
The part that would specifically affect vendors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wow. Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. And I just want to clarify out loud for everybody that yes, anyone, they don't have to be associated with a charter school. If you have people that care about you and your business or care about kids that are in these schools or just care about fighting for children in California, they can also write letters. If they don't live in California, that's okay. Use your business address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say the reason why we held this specific call for vendors is because we think we have a good chance if we hear from our vendors.
Right.
Your
Mhm.
guys' voices in this are extremely important. There's only so much I think California is probably sick of all of the parents. And I know some of us here are parents, but we have a lot of bills that parents are pretty angry about here in California. And so I think hearing from a different perspective, businesses that will be severely impacted by a bill like this, I think that really brings in a different perspective for these legislators to consider and that they're forced to consider. If you guys use your voices, reach out to your legislators, meet with them in person. You guys can actually show up to their offices. You can ask for a meeting as well, and you can explain to them these are the types of children that my services that I provide to them. This is what I do to help them. This is what I offer them. This is how I'm helping and giving back to my community, or this is how I am surviving. This is my business. This is what I do for a living. If this bill passes, I don't have a way to make a living. I think hearing your guys' perspective on this is going to make a huge impact in how they vote. So I just wanted to reiterate that is why we held this meeting tonight, because we know that you guys are not generally in this fight. Usually it's the parents. And now this is something that doesn't just change your guys' business model, but the future of education in California as a whole. For all of the homeschoolers, I am not part of a charter. I have been a private homeschooler for a long time, but one of my favorite vendors that we use, Terra Arts, who's on this call tonight,
He's
we've
here.
been using them for years, and to lose that would break our hearts. And that has been an integral part to our homeschooling experience. And I know that all of you guys offer something super special to your students. And I think our legislators really need to hear that. So I'll end my spiel on that. But
Well,
go
and
ahead, Karen. I know you have a question. Go ahead.
The other thing to share, they really are interested in hearing about the kids that are in our charters that have special needs or learn differently. So share that information, because for a while I think they believed that we were all kind of one type of person. And as you all know, because you live and work in this community, we are a very diverse community of people. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and then just to kind of top off what's being said, for your information, the legislators are in their local offices through August 16th because it's their summer break. So I would even venture out to say, look at the communities that you're serving. Where are they living? Where are you working? Where do you work yourself? Where are you? All of those different places are opportunities of legislators to speak to. So don't just stick to who represents you, but who represents the children that you serve and the families that you serve. And those are potential legislators that you could also go to and say, look, I provide services to people in your community, and this bill is going to have an impact on families that you represent. I think that's also really important because, again, it's not just the parents saying so, it's the economic impacts that are going to be driving their decisions as well.
If you really want to get crazy, plan a field trip with your students and say, hey, we're going to this legislators event and we want to take a picture with them and share with them how much our service means to our community, and get them on the spot, tag them when you take that photo, and make sure that you tag no on AB 84. These things work. Okay, Karen, I'm so sorry. You've been so patient. Go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. There are a lot of Karens in this meeting. So you mean this Karen, right?
We mean you, Karen Golden.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
okay. So first of all, I just want to thank you for putting this meeting together. Wendy, the first thing I do every morning is go to Legislation Takes Action and see like, what am I supposed to do today? So I just want to understand, because I'm also new to this legislator, what do you call it? Advocate. This is something new for me in terms of my place in fighting a bill. So I have made phone calls. I have submitted the letter through your portal. I didn't know that I was supposed to save a letter and send it to you, but I'll tell you, I did submit a letter, so I did that. What is more effective, calling or writing the letters?
Do it all. Please,
Okay.
trying to do all of it. Honestly, I feel like the more you call and share stories and have your families call and share stories, you just never know what story is going to speak to a legislator and at what moment. I've heard legislators tell me that they were sitting there on the floor waiting for their time to vote, and they remembered a certain child that came into their office and a story they heard about that kid, and they just could not bring themselves to vote yes. So do both. Like, this is a bill that basically puts what we do out of business. So
Oh yeah. I mean,
now
I've been doing a
you gotta
lot
do
of
it
both.
all. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
And
Thank
just
you.
would say-
remember that the bill is going to be heard in the Appropriations Committee on the 18th at 10 a.m. So try and get your letters done by the end of this week or early next week.
Yes, and I would also say if you do call in, you can also ask respectfully, I just want to make sure that my position on the bill is being registered, which they're probably going to ask for either your zip code or your address to verify that you either work or live in the district.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware of
Okay.
that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've made all the phone calls, and usually I can't say more on those phone calls than please vote no on AB 84, because usually there isn't a person to listen to more than that.
And remember that
Yeah.
we don't mind if they abstain. We don't have to pressure them to vote no. If they abstain, it does the same thing as a no vote. So don't get
Even if they
upset if
vote
your
or abstain.
legislator only abstains. You can still thank them.
Okay.
They're still standing up for our children by abstaining.
Great. Thank you.
Do you, I know this is about, the vendors, but can you maybe just share a tidbit of what impacts the charter schools are directly concerned about, maybe their top three, other than giving their children what they need?
Well, I mean, I'm a longtime homeschool mom. My oldest is 21. We've been using charter schools since he was 6, and I have 2 following that are 5 years apart each. And honestly, most families are part of the charter school system because they have access to the vendors and those education funds that they help direct. So the biggest concern is when they take away their parents' ability to direct those funds with the support of their teacher, and they take away the access to you guys. Those charters aren't really going to need to exist anymore. So, and then on top of that, there's all kinds of changes. It's 118 pages of changes to charter school law. Everything from how we do our accounting to how we are audited. It creates 2 new government entities to oversee charter schools in California. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. So
This bill is designed to remove charters as an option.
yes.
So just in abundance of clarity, it has to die. This bill has to go away.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have one question for you guys, because I know that this was in an earlier part of the bill, but it's one that I still keep getting from people. The part of the bill that talks about attendance and how much attendance a child needs to have in order to receive funding, is that still in the bill, or has that been amended out?
The part about if they're receiving in-person instruction is still in the bill. It ties to, the amount of funding. And like a model, I run Suncoast Preparatory Academy. We're a non-classroom based charter school that serves the homeschool community. Our model with no learning center would lose 30% of our funding in a school year. And then they tried to say that, I don't know if any of you were listening, but in the Assembly Education Committee, they flat out stood up there and said, it's not going to impact special education funding. And yes, it's not going to impact the tiny bit of money that we get from the state and the federal government for special education funding. But again, Suncoast Preparatory Academy, not a large charter school. We were 72 kids the first year that I took it over. And then we were 1,200 this past school year. With 1,200 students enrolled and 200 special education students, we spent $700,000 more from our general education funds on our special education services. So if they cut that by 30%, where is that money going to go? Where's it going to come from to serve those kids that need those special services? Carrie.
Yeah, go ahead,
Just,
Carrie.
just another quick silly question. So if we call legislatures directly and it goes to voicemail, is it still a good idea to just say what you want to say and leave your information until you can get through to someone as far as getting the message?
I would call and leave, if you leave a message, say, I'm a constituent, this is my zip code or my address, and I'm calling in to let you know that I'm very opposed to AB 84. You know, please record my opposition and give me a call back. And I'd love to discuss it further.
Okay. All right, great. That sounds great. Thank you
And
so
then you
much.
can try them the next day.
Yeah. And I was just curious to know because I think one of the things that we might be useful to put out there is that the flexibility that we provide to charters. I have students, even though I'm a music teacher, I have kids who will have epileptic type fits and last minute they're not going to have their lesson. I have a really flexible policy when it comes to illness, is I will always teach that lesson. And some of
Well,
my
we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I mean, if you
Yeah.
call me last minute, you take advantage of that. But the point is I have students who, do have some illnesses. That one child with a brain tumor.
Yeah.
I work around those treatments and how they're feeling on any given day, and I make it work that they get those lessons made up. And yeah, I don't.
Carrie, these are the stories that change legislators' minds.
Okay,
So keep
well,
trying to get a
I'll
hold of
include
that.
that. Yeah, because with the music, I mean, I'm not a music therapist, but I know that this is therapeutic in so many ways, and especially um, providing, and I'm sure some of the arts, vendors here, we provide environments in the community where people come together for recitals and get to meet other homeschool kids
Yeah.
to work through a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's you know, to label oneself one way or another is sometimes difficult, but I think that with the people who are providing the arts, we do have a dual purpose of also helping children with lots of different kinds of learning differences and disabilities, and the parents say it really helps them. So anyone else in my boat, I think that would be good to mention.
Yeah, and that survey that we put in there, it actually helps us see how many of you guys are in the same categories, how many of the same students you guys might be servicing, what kind of services you guys provide that might be essential to a child's education or their education plan. So filling out that survey really helps us kind of group you guys together and even create little teams if we need to.
Well, thank you so much. You guys are doing a great job. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
We have a couple more questions in here. We've got we've got 3 more questions. Do we know how much it will cost them to implement this?
The last thing I had read or saw, it was around $500 million.
Ooh, all right. And then we have another question here that says, how do we help if our business is located out of state? Does it help for us to contact anyone? Yeah, use
Yeah.
somebody else's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another one,
So for that one, I would look at which schools you work with, find their addresses and call those legislators for that area. I think somebody put in the chat how to find a legislator. So you'd put in the address for the school and see which legislator is in that area and call them and say, I'm a vendor for the school that's in your district and I'm opposed to AB 84, and share some stories about how you serve charter schools and the kids that go to them.
Yeah.
What do you
Dan,
guys think is driving this? Like, where does this originate from? It's so horrific. I mean, the limit of choice, and it's not new. Like you said, I mean, as a homeschooler for 20 years myself, and it goes back, it makes no sense that it's such an aggressive attack.
Who wants to take that one?
Yes, please do. I was just gonna say it
I-
probably
Oh,
feels like
I shouldn't
whiplash.
take
I feel like I need to
Oh, you
redeem
don't
my
wanna take it,
gentleness
Wendy?
from earlier, honestly. So I'll
I
take
say
this
all
one.
kinds of non-political correct things when I talk about this topic. So Allie, you take
Allie,
this.
take it away.
I was like, I was overly gentle. Now we're gonna talk about this. So here's the thing.
We're gonna
Um,
get it.
California actually led the way for the entire nation when it came to charters.
I
We
remember.
were cutting edge. We were serving in such
A
incredible.
Democrat, Gary Davis was his name, brought the bill to California and made charters legal here.
It was, and I mean, blaze the trail. Now, since charters have become so effective and have drawn so many students, and there are models that now exist that we can see are functioning and serving families well, there is a union that is really unhappy about the way that makes their side look. And then so there are unions that have a lot of money to lobby and be in Sacramento and talk to the legislators every single day and fund their campaigns and do all of that. They're not happy that charters exist. They're very clear about that. There's statements about it. And then on top of that, they've had a significant reduction in enrollment. And I think whenever things like that happen, there's this looking around to create a boogeyman instead of looking inward and figuring out what's going on that people are really wanting to get out. It's looking out and looking for who can we blame this on. And the charters have been the scapegoat for really heavily for the last 6 years, but for a long time. It's been, well, if they were gone, then everything would be better kind of thing. And I think there's probably more nuance to that, but it's a very targeted, and when you have conversations with the people who are driving these bills, they genuinely believe that every single child should be in a government brick and mortar public school that has mandated curriculum, mandated hours, mandated everything, and have those children move through that program. They believe that every child, you shouldn't homeschool, you shouldn't have charters, shouldn't have anything. Everybody should move through the same system that is chosen by the state. And there, again, none of this is hidden. They're very open about these conversations. Yeah.
Rana and I were in a meeting with Rob Bonta. Was it for AB 1316, Rana? And he flat out told us that free market doesn't belong in education and all children should be in a public government run school.
Yep.
He said that to us, to our faces.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And he's going to be running for state
He's running for
superintendent
state
too,
superintendent, Rana. He's going to run for state superintendent of education.
That means,
along with Al Marasucci.
Yep.
does that mean that you can't put your kid in a private school either?
That's exactly what they believe, yes. But they're not going to stop that because you're not infringing on the union's money that way.
Okay, we've
And their
got one
children
other
go to private
question
schools.
here. We've got one question.
Oh, yeah.
that's-
What
This
is
is
it?
Leslie with Homeschool Enrichment Centers. Did you hear when Al Marasucci misspoke, lied in the Education Committee sessions to Senator Laird? Senator Laird asked him if it would remove the ability to use vendors, and Al Marasucci stated, the charters have no restrictions for using vendors that aren't credentialed. How can we make these senators understand what is in this bill and how it will affect us and believe us? Basically, Senator Laird believed Marasucci on his word. Do they not read it themselves?
No, they don't read it themselves. It's 100. I've even said to legislator staff in there, I go, I think I'm the only person in the Capitol right now who's actually read this bill. It was at the point that it first came out, it was 100 and I think 29 pages. Yeah, it was insane.
So something that I really love doing, well, used to love doing when I was doing this all the time, is I would literally dissect the bill and write out every single one of my questions as it related to me as a parent or an educator or as a homeschool parent. I would just write out every single question and I would keep following up. I'd say, hey, where are my answers to these questions? And I would meet with the legislators and I would say, hey, how is this going to be addressed if this happens? Do you realize that in this bill, this is what the language says? Sometimes that can be really effective. I've had one legislator actually ask a couple of my questions in a committee before. And so this can be a really effective way of making sure that they understand what they are agreeing to and what they are saying yes to or no to.
And I just posted, they do a lot of their conversations with these fact sheets that the author of the bill's office creates. And they are not fact at all. They're completely full of fiction. And so what I do typically is take those and kind of debunk them. And so I just put in the chat my blog post where I'm debunking those. And even if you have a conversation with a legislator about two of those things or one of those things, it helps them realize, hey, I might not be getting the whole story because this person is actually in this community and they're telling me something different. So I just put that there.
I would even go on to say, I mean, directly to the point of the question, even with Al Maratucci, I've taken bills, printed them out, highlighted the actual bill language, put an asterisk to the side to notate it. And that might even be the first time they're actually looking at bill language, because they have a staffer assigned to the different bills who review the bill analysis and then give like the 2-minute recap. So they literally are not reading the bills. They defer to their colleagues. Yeah, they defer to their colleagues. And so it is actually helpful when there are constituents that respectfully go to them and say, I'd like you to take note of this line of the bill, because you may be the first time they're actually going to see it.
Exactly.
Guys, I'm noticing a trend in a couple of the questions, and it's something I've heard before, that I'm hoping one of us can speak to, but that there's information coming out from different charters that are that's confusing and making it seem as though this is that they'll just need to get a credential, that they'll just need to be registered, things. And if we can speak to that really quick, but something I just want to say is, you guys remember this bill is 100 pages. It started at 129, I think Wendy said. It's going through, Karen and I were joking the other day, there was a notification of amendments, and then she and I both are spending hours trying to find the amendments. So this stuff changes very quickly. And frankly, a lot of the times they're very poorly written. So there can be misunderstanding. So Wendy or whoever feels comfortable, can we speak to this? Because I think we end up on a game of telephone too. And it sounds like the vendors are confused because they're getting kind of mixed messages.
Well, it is very hard to track. And remember, the legislators got up there, if any of you were watching the assembly floor, they get up there and they say that, oh no, the people that are calling in are confused. They don't understand the bill. We do. We read it and we understand it. And so there is a lot of misinformation because you'll call an office and then that legislator staff will say, no, that's been written out of the bill. Rana and I had a meeting with Al Marasucci's chief of staff for his local district office. And I sat there and I said my whole spiel about there is this section of the bill that makes our charter school illegal and everything that we do. And he said, no, that's been written out of the bill. It's not there. And I said, no, I looked this morning and it was there. He said, show me. I had to get out my cell phone at his desk and scroll to the end of the bill. And I said, it's right here. And then he said, can I see it? I don't think you're on the right legislative portal website. I said, sure, here's my phone. Please look at it. He scrolls up to the top, sees I'm in the right place, and then tells me it must be a technical glitch.
No.
Yeah, he did. Rana was there
No.
with me. Okay, so let me show you. Can I show you one more thing, you guys?
Yes.
Please,
Okay,
please.
let's see.
Well, and then they went on he said that it was a technical glitch. And then the person in Sacramento, the contact there for Al Marasucci, said, took it back and said, oh no, that was a mistake. Sorry, oops. And we'll meet with you. And then never got back to us. And we've been following up, and Al nor anyone else will meet with us again. When we pop in, they will, but we cannot get to Al.
No. So this is the actual portal that you want to look at the bill on. This is where he was testing my knowledge of how the legislature works, and I was in the right place. So this is where you want to be. It's actually leginfo.legislature.california.gov. Okay, and then you can search any bill right here. Sorry, I'm moving it around because you guys are blocking things. I don't know, is that making you seasick like Blair Witch Project? Okay, so I love this tool. You can compare the versions here. And it shows you all the versions. And then you can select the ones you want to compare. And then it shows you changes in blue. So between those two changes, it's the blue. So a lot didn't change, but
Lots of changes.
yeah. So the red has been taken out of the bill. And the blue has been added or changed.
Yes,
that's a
and
really handy
something
tool.
too that Ally and Karen were joking about earlier was sometimes it's the amendment is they changed the word the to of.
The,
You know,
yeah,
yeah.
don't you
It
love
can be
that?
as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Okay, as in a. So if anyone tries to tell you that part is out of the bill, here, I'll just scroll down here. And right here it is. They've moved it all the way to the bottom, but there's that section that I keep referring to. They keep trying to move it down, like I'm not going to scroll down further to find.
So that's section 43, 51749.7A and B.
Yep. Okay.
And really quickly, I feel the frustration. I've seen some of the messages about the charters not reaching out to you guys directly.
Thank you for bringing this.
There are
can
different
explain that, yeah.
Huh?
I can explain that with the.
I was gonna say that there's, yeah, Wendy, go please, yeah, address that because it's definitely, it's not that they aren't trying to help. I promise.
Yeah, we definitely are trying to help, but please remember charter schools are already under attack, and charter schools are nonprofit entities. Nonprofit entities, the way charters are formed, cannot try to get legislators to vote a different way. So they are putting their charter at risk if they tell you to tell your legislator to vote one way. So the most that we can do is say, hey, follow legislation, take action. Go check that out. You might want to look at AB 84. So they have to be really careful what they say, especially knowing that they're already under attack and they're looking for every reason to shut us down.
Yes, thank you for addressing that. I did want that question to be addressed in there.
So your charters love it when you figure it out and take action on your own.
Well, and that's also why that was another reason why we really wanted to have this meeting is because we knew that we have a lot of vendors who have questions. They know about this bill, they don't fully understand the bill, but they also don't have a place or people that they can go to because the charter schools can only do so much and can only share so much and communicate so much with their vendors about this. So a lot of why we held this tonight was because we wanted to make sure that you guys get this information, but also we're counting on you guys, one, to take the survey, and two, to share the survey, and three, to make sure you guys are out there spreading the word to your students, all of your families that you work with, and asking them to support you guys, but also other vendors who accept charter funds as well. Especially because the charters themselves have their hands tied a bit. It's really up to the parents and the vendors to get this information out and to do a lot of the legwork.
Yes,
really.
I will say too, for the call to action, it is time sensitive. So I think they're anticipating that the appropriations hearing will be August 18, I believe, which means the staffer who will be doing the bill analysis will probably start working on this August 11. They usually take about a week to do it. Different committees, some they take 1 week, some they take 3 days. But all of that is just to say, the sooner you do your opposition letter, the better. The sooner you reach out to other vendors and phone tree this out to, the other people that the other businesses that the better. Because that will give them time to think about what they have to do, draft their own letters, and get that submitted as well. So it's not something that, I'll work on it in a couple of weeks. We really got to be working on this within this week.
So what about parents? Can homeschools directly reach out to parents and say, we want your help with this?
No, same thing applies. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we need to tell our family.
Yeah, tell your family.
100%. We need your guys' help getting the word out to your families as well. I think a lot of families, because the charter schools aren't making a loud noise because they can't, they also aren't understanding the impact of this bill. And so that's why it was really important. We called this an emergency meeting because it really is an emergency. It could pass, the part that affects you guys could pass as early as January 2026. And so we really need to spread the word with all of our vendors, all of our families, as many homeschoolers as you know. And I want to end the meeting a little bit on just a quick story, not a story, I guess, but my own personal experience. I didn't introduce myself earlier. My name is Allison. I am the president of Freedom Keepers United, which was an organization 2000 for a few years, for a while. And we did a lot of advocacy work, but the purpose of my work in that advocacy space was for children who were medically fragile. And so a lot of your students, like you were talking about, Carrie, earlier, they have a lot of medical needs, and these children have no other place to go. They do not have the option to go to traditional schools. And what this bill does is forces those children who need the flexibility of homeschooling and charters and all of the opportunities that charters and vendors like you guys provide them to be able to have an education. And so I wanted to share that because I know that maybe for some of you, this bill may not impact you as much as others. Maybe you guys have a thriving business, and charter funds is a small percentage of what you guys take in, but there are still so many families that you guys serve who really rely on this bill to not pass. And again, I am not a family who is using charter funding, but I am a family who once did and really needed that. And so I understand the impact this is going to have on a lot of families whose children are medically fragile and really need your guys' help speaking for them, reaching out to them, getting this information out. And that's why this was an emergency meeting and why we really wanted to get as many vendors here as possible. So on top of the letters that we want you guys to send and the links that we have for you guys, the survey as well, if you guys could please send this information out to as many families as you guys have, any families that you serve, even your friends, anybody who supports your business, just get the information out. We will do our best to create social media posts. We will do our best to even help you guys curate like an email that you send out to your families if you'd like. Anything that will help you guys get the information out and make it easier for you, we are happy to help with that.
I show them one more thing, sorry.
Yes, please do.
Chat, they're asking about the votes. And this is the easiest way to see who voted how. Same back to the portal, you can see the vote history. So here's who voted for it in the Assembly Education Committee. Here's who voted for it in the Appropriations Committee. Here's who voted for it in the Assembly floor, voted against it, and no vote recorded is abstaining. And then here, the last place it was Senate Education. So this is in that same place that I told you is like the portal for everything bill related, and you just go right to the votes tab, and that's where you can see it. And then I typically post the votes on legislation take action after they are recorded. And someone I think was asking about people changing their votes. They can change their votes. Some people did change their vote on the assembly floor. So until they close the vote, they can still change their vote. And so that happened. But also, like, if they voted yes on it on the assembly floor and we get to them and we tell them a story that changes their mind, they may vote no on it when it comes back to the assembly. So they have the freedom to change their vote if they want to change their vote. I don't know if that answers the question, but someone asked that.
And then the last thing I will say is that, again, I know I'm being really pushy with this survey. It does collect your emails, so we will use that email list to go ahead and send out this Zoom link or the Zoom recording and any notes or information kind of all packaged together for you guys. I will try to also include some sort of email template to send out to your families. And that will all be sent to you guys. So make sure you send out or fill out that survey, and I'll use the emails from that survey and go ahead and send that to you guys.
And Ed's asking me who to work on all the Democrats in the committee and then on the floor. This bill is so controversial at this point that I feel like everyone is on the fence. Everyone's afraid to vote yes on this one. So keep the pressure on.
Well, thank you guys. I think we have, Amanda is asking if we have time to talk about SB 414. We did discuss this earlier as a team, and we were not sure if we wanted to overwhelm you guys, but I think we could probably give a small tidbit on it just for anybody who is interested. Who would like to speak on AB 414 very quickly?
I'll say for the record, I'm personally not in support of it, but you can all decide what you want to. It is the less of two evils.
It's the less of two evils.
Yeah.
I think on the parent side, it doesn't really make sense for vendors, from what I'm understanding. I do not feel qualified to talk about this, though. So if anybody else would like to hop in.
It doesn't limit the vendors. So
Yes.
the author of the bill's children are in a charter school, and she is working to try and come up with a balanced legislation that will not hurt charters, but will give the legislature what they want in more oversight of us.
Yes, so it's still not great for charters themselves. As far as for homeschooling, it is just it's just the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that by saying yes to SB 414, it does alleviate a lot of the concerns that people have with AB 84. There are too many numbers. And so there are some people who are saying go ahead and say yes to SB 414, or at least tell your legislators, hey, SB 414 already deals with a lot of the issues you guys are worried about with AB 84. So you don't even need AB 84. So that is one thing. But it really doesn't pertain to you guys. So I think we'll leave it at that.
Well, and I also think that what we really should do is be educating our legislators that basically they're being lied to. A lot of the
100%.
information, if you look at legislation take action, I post all the time. Every time I hear kind of a lie, I debunk the lie and say, hey, this is really what's happening. We hear a lot about how we're wasting taxpayer money by going to Disneyland. We hear all of these crazy things that, you know, all public schools do field trips to Disneyland. The CDE just had their big ceremony there at Disneyland, and that's okay. It's only charter schools that can't go to Disneyland. So if we keep educating legislators on what actually happened, even the big fraud cases that they talk about, when you look at the facts, like even the A3 case, they got all but I think $40,000 of that money back. And they're still talking about it. And it was over 10 years old now. And then the new fraud case is actually a case of the school was given misinformation by their county office of ed. And they were told these are the credentials you need to serve this adult population. And then they came back and told them that was wrong. And so now they're being told that they stole that money from the state when really they were following directions from a county office of ed. So is
that's
that
actually
fraud?
somebody had a question in here that says, so where is it? Where should accountability be focused on? And I think that's kind of a good, I would like for that question to be addressed.
About some honest reporting.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's where the accountability should be focused on.
Well, and not only
also-
that, but a lot of people don't understand that charter schools are actually under a lot more scrutiny than even traditional schools.
Yeah, a traditional school does not have an authorizer that oversees their operation. We are audited every year, one by our authorizer and then by an outside audit firm. A district school only has to do its annual audit. They don't have an authorizer in their business all the time looking at their financials and trying to make sure their policies are all in alignment with law. So we're already under more scrutiny. If you have a child that goes to a brick and mortar school and they write their English paper all about their experience at church camp and how much they love the Lord, guess what? They can turn that in and get a grade on it. And if we do that, that's an audit exception because it was religious. So we are under more scrutiny than a district school already.
I have a confession. I let songs pass by that are, I don't know, Christmas?
Well, they'd be allowed to sing them in brick and mortar school, district school.
I didn't say the word Jesus. Oh, or Buddha.
Or Buddha. Yeah, exactly, right?
Oh, wait, they won't get shot. They're not in a public school. All right, I'll stop.
Well, I hope that everybody got a lot of information out of this, and I hope that we were able to answer as many questions as possible. We will send out a recap. I will do my best to go over our notes and make sure that we send that out to you. It will have all of the links included that we talked about, all of the resources, Wendy's blog post, the templates. In addition to that, I will also make sure that the bill page for everything where you can see the updates on who voted for what, the amendments, all of it will be in one email sent out to you guys. And it may take a minute to have an email template out to you guys, but I will also try to do that at some point for you. And with that, I hope you all have a great night and thank you for being here. Please share all of this information with all of your families, any vendor you know, anybody it affects, just share it. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, you guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks for being here.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank
So
you,
glad I
everybody.
could make it.
And I'm
Bye.
glad you
Bye-bye,
made it,
thanks.
Ed. Bye.
Thank you.
Finally. Bye.
Bye.